Hello.
Hey guys. Hello, Peter.
Hey,
Good
Ollie.
to see you.
Good to see you.
Probably can't see me very well. It's still dark here and I haven't got much light. So apologies for that.
It's okay.
We'll, we'll lighten up over the next hour.
I mean, it does look like you're really lit up though. Just from an angle that makes it seem like you just transcended.
Right here. Yeah, I'm in another world.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Mm.
So we're just hanging out a little bit while maybe a few more people drop in. Um, but I do wanted to start with maybe just giving you a chance to meet someone since we're in a sort of context of relating here. So maybe it's not a maybe actually, it's what we're going to do. I'm going to send you into breakout rooms and give you a chance to say hi to another human being for just 5 minutes. So just who are you and why are you here? And maybe how's it going right now? And then we'll meet back here, maybe with a few more people. So that's going to happen now. And let's see if that works. Welcome back. Um, so I want to just give you the context for why I'm here and I didn't get to talk to anyone. Um, and my context that I wanted to start doing these monthly calls in the context of the Relating Arts platform that I've been working on for a year's time, and kind of to have conversations about some of the things that seem to be important in the wider community of people that practice or lead relating practices, and then invite people in who have experience with leading and yeah, get some conversation started about what are the dilemmas, the challenges we meet as leaders and practitioners of these things. And last month it was the first call, and we talked about the sort of why even make a platform. And this time I spoke to Mareike and Navi, and Mareike mostly, and Mareike came up with this theme of like what is all the stuff that happens when we take these practices and try to bring them into other contexts? Um, yeah, and we just talked a little bit before starting this call, and I'm going to play mostly the host here, and Mareike and Navi will uh, do most of the leadership or most of the contexting. Let's see. So I'll hand the word to you, Mareike, and just see if you can fly us into this theme.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. Um, Nice to meet you. Nice to see you, Emilia, also. Um, Peter asked me if I wanted to come into one of these calls, and I was thinking about what theme or like what did I feel like excited about bringing in, and something that has been with me for a couple of months now, maybe like half a year. It's really having had a couple of experiences of um, meeting new communities, particularly going maybe also on retreat and meeting some new friends who are not circlers, and having had quite surprising experiences. So I'm finding myself quite embedded um, in surrounded leadership in the European circling world, hanging out with a lot of these people, leading a lot of events. And something interesting happened when I found myself in other contexts that kind of like shook me a little bit. And I want to reflect more with other practitioners about it today and speak more about it because it strikes me as important. And I want to bring in those personal experiences I had, share a little bit. I think Navi and me are going to speak a little bit about the context, share a little bit, and then the idea would be that you're also all gonna go into breakout rooms, or all of us, into smaller groups, so we can actually speak a little bit more in more intimate ways. And yeah, for you to bring your experience really in, your own experiences with this, and whatever else comes up also around this theme. Yeah, my own personal experiences that I can mention is coming in like as myself and with this almost like confidence. So like, wow, like I do so much circling. I feel connected to my innocence and power, and it's usually being so welcomed in circling and so in leadership. And then I found myself on this retreat, actually two retreats the last year. And both times when I brought myself in, also to the retreat leader, but also towards the whole group, the feedback that I got was a bit like very surprising to me and very different than the feedback I've gotten in circling spaces. Oh, almost people like being a bit shocked, or people almost like seemingly being a bit hurt, or maybe even annoyed at, oh wow, why did you just like criticize this? Or it seems like you're criticizing. It seems like you don't actually want to be here because you're telling us how it's not quite how you want it, or maybe questioning the leadership of the retreat. And it genuinely very like surprised me, and like started to make me reflect about, oh, there are things I haven't seen about myself. And these people respond differently, maybe also because the context is very differently, and made me a lot more aware of the context we do have when we're in practice, and how that is a bit different, and how my experiences, I could come off strongly, for example, when there wasn't shared context with other people. And it was quite touching for me. It is quite touching, of wanting to see that more clearly, and almost hurting or feeling a bit of pain of, oh, here we are, here I am doing a lot of relational practices. And then it's almost like there's this clash or hurt happening with other people, and being genuinely quite curious. So I'm speaking to the clash right now. There's also the beauty of just, I feel it's quite touching to receive a lot of positive feedback for what people seem to really like in circlers, for example, or relational practitioners. So that is also in my mind, but right now the clash is a bit more alive. My experience is that almost like it makes me aware of the water that I'm swimming in, like the worldviews we can have in these practices. And from the inside, we don't quite question them as much. But when we get into this clash, like with the outside, and the water becomes more apparent, and I'm really curious about that. I want to bring Navi in. We lead a lot of circling together, so I invited them, yeah, to bring their experience with communities in here today as well.
Yeah. I haven't, for me, the experience the last years has been that I don't clash as much as I did over a period of time. Probably because I've gotten used to changing contexts and changing environments, and no longer looking at certain ways of seeing relationality as superior or less lesser, less good. I think there's one thing that has come up for me in this theme that has been quite important, which is like there is a point, I think, when I get so much into a certain type of language and a certain type of worldview that I am suddenly in a different paradigm of thinking, doing, being, relating to all things. Even the way I relate to physical space, because I do similar things in my embodiment practices and dancing. So suddenly it becomes, if I don't have a way of translating between the paradigms or between the different types of languages or worldviews, it almost like defeats the purpose of the practice itself. Or it seemed to me in the very beginning, around 2012, that practicing any of this stuff was about relationships to other humans and to be able to be in bigger diversity, to be able to connect across different interests, or like there's something that is like more universal, even though I have a difficulty with that word. And now this practice is either no longer about that, or I'm with the question often, like, do all my friends and partners have to learn this way of being in order to be close to me? Or is there like something else that I can like another way of bending myself or continuing to be exposed to the other languages and other worldviews so that it actually still can be about relating to more people because they still have that ethical value. So that is one of the things. I do think that there are a lot of different categories of stuff that comes up with this. Like I'm sure everyone has like little examples and things that are already coming up. I think I will let most of my like mountain of topics that are related be for now. And just like start entering like something more interactive. Don't know how to do that yet. I want to check in with Mareike, or like at least look at her face. Yeah, but this does feel interesting to me.
I have a thing that's on theme and also a little bit meta. And
Yes.
it's just like noticing how easy it is for me to sort of just assume that everyone in this call are in sort of a familiar bubble of relating practices. And thus that people will kind of bring themselves in if something is sort of provoking or challenging, or like that feedback is welcome, that impact is welcome, and that's kind of how we we do things, and that's an expectation that I often sort of go around with. But and also when I go into communities that are not used to these practices, and when I lead there, or even when I don't lead, but it's sort of more a social situation, there is some kind of assumption that I carry with me that might actually often not be matching the reality of it. And I've seen that sort of the other way around for myself when I started taking an interest for radical honesty like a few years ago, and when I've gone to their workshops, I've had this sort of slight struggle with bringing myself in because it's like I don't quite understand the rules here. Like, am I always welcome to just say what's going on, or am I waiting for the leaders? And that has really given me this perspective of like that I maybe had 10 years ago when I started circling, of like, oh, I people don't necessarily understand the context that we're in. And yeah, and I was just sort of musing about that right now. Like, I wonder if the we that we have here actually has a shared context of what we're doing. and what is welcome.
So after you've checked that, Peter, I want to put another meta in the context that I forgot thinking about it. But I would also love to know, actually, it's quite nice to check that before instead of assuming. As we've learned many years ago.
It's reminding me of when I started circling. It's like for a long time, for over a year, I was just going, I'm not quite sure what's going on. I think this is okay, but I'm just not quite sure. So I'm kind of bumbling my way.
Yeah.
So this call I thought was about creating communities of what they call it, circlers. Wherever we are. Understand that the topic has kind of slightly changed, but still quite interesting to me. But I guess basically that's what I'm here for. I'm trying to create some sort of circling community in a place where there's no circlers. Yeah.
Oh, there was a change in topic between me and Peter talking, and I think that theme will also come up more in the next calls.
I'll just speak. Sorry, I was late. I'm a bit like, oh, I missed the introductory context, but I'm loving the conversation. I'm really like, oh my God, yes, that places where there's a shared understanding of this is how we're relating, that I feel at home in and invited to be myself. And then being in other communities where, oh, they don't do this, they're easily insulted by me. Yeah. And I loved what you said. Is it Mareike? Yeah, about wanting to kind of be flexible enough to still navigate and go within, but there's a truth that I'm more at home in and feel free and comfortable in the Sakhalin community. But that's partly because I learned a lot of the same principles in previous communities. So when I came into circling, it was like, oh, yes! It's like community building, which I'd learned. And it's like saying what's real practices from Gestalt. And it's like assertiveness training. And it was like many things that I like, it's all here. And I loved it. So I've got a bias towards that, and I kind of want to bring more of that into more ordinary communities that aren't explicitly saying they're wanting that. But I also do want to create more full-on, this is what we do, spaces to be that together. And I'm in a hybrid community here in Brighton. There's a few of us that have done the SAS training and some, long time kind of interested folks, and then some beginners, and straddling that isn't that easy. So I'm looking for, inspiration and thoughts and spaces to process that.
I think, well, I still have this meta, and I still have this, your question, Peter, because now I'm starting to get a feel for some of you. It's so nice. Is there anyone who's not in, say, surrendered leadership, circling, authentic relating, relatefulness? Nope. And those schools can be very, very much, or from city to city, they can also vary quite a lot. Like I've noticed like very different cultures being in the different spaces. So there is a meta, that I want to play with during this call. And it's contexting like being in practice and discussing. And for those, because I think if all of us are practitioners, we might very, very easily drop in and just be in the discovery of the senses and like unfold as we usually do. And I do think there is a fitness almost with moving in and out of like the dialogos, maybe you know that format, but like discussing or analyzing something and dropping back into practice and having that be a breath rather than now we're doing this and that's what we're doing. And it feels like quite relevant to what we're like bringing in, and even to what you like, Sandy, when you say this, like, oh, it's hard to straddle this the different degrees of knowing and what is it that you. I also feel like I want to be in that call, but it does feel very related because it's all about bridging worlds in some way or another. And how do I speak to someone who's a beginner to create community versus how do I speak with someone who's been doing this for 10 years or 20 years? Very different. Yeah.
Yeah, and Mareike, when you started talking about this theme, I had very much the sort of the image of going into another community or practice that works slightly different. And as we're talking about it now, it seems to widen a bit, where it's also like when I teach at university in Copenhagen and I introduce authentic relating practices, the reactions I get there, like when I started circling and I almost broke up with a friend because he was like, "Can you stop doing this to me?" And I was like, "I'm not doing anything. It's like this is me." And I imagine we all have quite a lot of sort of interesting experiences with trying to bring this stuff that we're excited about in different contexts, and the beauty that can happen, but also the trouble we can get in. So that, yeah, I think that's my main sort of wish to explore more of that in this call.
Yeah. And I noticed I feel my own emotional impact already, like just having shared my own experience as well, like, oh, it's actually vulnerable, or there's something moving. It's not just speaking about it, retelling the memory. And I can also tell it when I hear some of you and the way you are with yourself. So my wish is also for us to actually really be with each other. My impulse would still be to maybe split it up a little bit smaller, because I would love the chance for everyone to really be in and bring themselves and then really also be with the experience at the same time. And see what happens when we actually share it with other practitioners. I find it quite powerful right now.
Could I name one more thing in context first from personal experience? So there was a conversation that I had with someone who's been doing circling for a long time. I'm not going to mention their name. And who's very big in the authentic relating world and who's done heaps for us, basically. Who has done some quite specific choices in their life in relation to these practices. And one of the things I got when I started dropping in with them was that they were so good at naming what was happening. They're like, okay, it feels okay to go here with you, and I sense what you're doing, and it feels like if it was somebody else, it would be offensive because I didn't know them. To start circling with me without asking permission is kind of like coming in and molesting me without permission. And so I don't want to suddenly be dropped into depth or closeness with someone that I haven't consented to. And that was one of the like clearest like sometimes I can understand what it would mean to either like go away very quickly or come in very quickly, almost as an offensive act. Like I can grok it. And I think that's the level of experience that I'm drawn to right now. Like, can I actually sense whether someone else is feeling that, or have I been desensitized to dropping in and out of depth or presence to such a degree where I can't actually sense fully where this person is at? Yeah. So that's part of it. Mareike, do you think 4 groups? 3, 4?
I was thinking of 3, maybe because I assumed that the people who don't have their video on, I'm not sure if they wanted to speak. But that's probably good to check. Maybe speak now if you want to be an active member. So be great. Yeah, love that. So then we could have 4 probably.
Yeah.
I can also speak. I'm just home in like 1 minute and I could be ready.
Awesome, Sophia. Yeah, sounds good. Then let's do 4. Yeah. Peter's on it, I believe.
I'm on it. Can you say a little bit more about what we're going to do?
Yeah. So there will be a specific amount of time. The idea is to unfold this, like what gets touched in you in this theme, what has been touched in you in your life. Really what comes up, it's somewhat related. You don't need to necessarily stay within. Like I want you to be with what is alive in you and to bring it into contact with the people you're with. At the same time as we are also in practice. So staying present also with what your experience in the present moment is and with each other. Navi, do you want to add something to
that? Just that I think we're in groups of 3, correct? So we take maybe 15 or 20 minutes for this. Is that reasonable, or does that become a little squeezed? Or
Let's do 20. I think that's good.
20, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And if I were to put like with just one sentence on the context for this, it's like, where have you met challenges in bringing these practices into other contexts, like bringing it out of the practice, meeting other communities, meeting people that are not familiar with it already, something like that.
I want to add that it's not necessarily just challenges. Now we've spoken about challenges, but also I find it quite beautiful when I see the gifts as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
A question, or is this clear? Awesome.
I'll open the rooms and see you in 20.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone.
20 minutes is nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I just want to check context for now. Like, is there anything, Peter, you want to mention about relating arts at the end, or?
Not particularly. It'll take 2 minutes max. So, I'd like to hear from everyone on what you just talked about, and
Yeah.
maybe there's some common themes or just something we can harvest from these conversations.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to check time. So we do have 25 minutes for that now.
And for me, it's okay to both do harvesting, drop into practice, harvest more, drop into practice. Like that breath is dish. Yeah.
I could share. I found it very deep breath relieving to experience the overlaps in our experience. I'll speak for me, but there were overlaps of moving from kind of a more professional, as in classic professional way of training and facilitating and being a leader at the front of a group, and really craving and wanting and changing the culture of leading from vulnerability, from what's alive, from a more surrendered leadership place. But what came clearer to me was some ideas about bridging that, and even what could be said about to help prepare people who aren't used to that at all. Sort of say, okay, you might be expecting me to present, the material here, whereas actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to share much more my raw experience. And I'd like to invite you to notice what that's like for you, where it's uncomfortable. And, that kind of framing it in a way that helps them navigate how uncomfortable it's likely to be, and make that in a way a feature rather than just something to privately navigate and feel lost in relation to. Yeah, that felt good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, wow, I quite like I have this thing in my head going like, with the right context, people will do anything. Like what comes up for me, having been at so many burns and then like contexting something, and suddenly you have like 30 people dropping into the weirdest thing ever within 20 minutes. It's like, it's really quite powerful to become aware of that.
I think there's a question in me of like, because I have the same vibe as you on that, Navi, that it's like, I'd say the right invitation, or like, I don't know, when we start doing this stuff, at some point we get quite good at making invitations that make people want to join, or like, in some way there's also some kind of power in it, right? It also forces people to join a little bit if you're not careful. So it can be tricky in some way. And there's something with how these invitations are received in different ways in different contexts that's quite interesting for me. And like I've done something that I thought like an experience myself as really sort of simple, authentic relating games, like doing the curiosity game, for example, in a leadership course for youth workers in a municipality. And and the feedback on that was like, I really like this felt like doing psychotherapy with my colleagues, and I was not prepared for that at all. And it's like we're not supposed to bring the private into our workplace. Like that's inappropriate. And I was like, we're just asking each other questions about what it's like, kind of. And but there's so many different understandings of what's appropriate and what yeah, that it's just very interesting to try to post these invitations in different contexts.
What comes up for me also from what you said, Sandy, and I think that was one of the reflections that came up for me in the group as well, is it seems to matter to me, but also to others, I think, that if I am with someone who's not used to my own context, that I'm generous in sensing where they're at. It's like what you spoke to sounded like you're gauging where they're at and then you're bridging it. But sometimes I think in the past I would just kind of assume they would be like me and I come, and I'm not even speaking into the tension or the gap, or it seems quite generous. Seems nice to be aware. It's like, oh, I can bring myself, but I'm gonna sense into how, like, that it might be a bit shocking to them, or like how to invite them, or maybe share even my context of why am I bringing myself. I notice that with clients, my therapist, and I'm bringing circling in a lot. If I would just out of nowhere suddenly share that I'm angry, it doesn't seem to land super well. But if I even just say two more sentences of, oh, I'm actually gonna start sharing myself because I think it's really valuable and it's gonna show us maybe more of your reality, then they actually love it. But it takes like a little bit of an extra step, and I'm taking that away right now with me.
And that might also save you from sort of the pre-trans issue that sometimes comes up when, at least I've had that experience of sort of trying to bring, let's say, anger sort of in the service of connection because it's there, and then people reacting with this like, oh no, now something is really wrong and we have to help you out with your anger. And I'm like, yeah. Okay, now we're really in trouble because I'm not in trouble. I'm just sort of trying to support you here, or like what's even going on. And I imagine that a lot of people from this field have tried getting in trouble in a similar way.
Yeah, thinking about my accountant again.
I notice myself feeling really relieved at the shared experience here. It's Ooh.
I keep having a bit of a burning sensation of wanting to hear Emilia and David and like more people in the field also.
This is kind of, yeah, there's like from my own experience and like little things I'm hearing, it's like or we're coming from niche cultures or niche kind of it's like kind of the liberation of like, oh, we like for me, it's like, oh, I can finally say what I'm seeing in myself or in others or in the collective. And it's like, what a relief to actually like, but then it's like what are we allowed to see and tell people that it's actually, no, I don't want to be like, oh, I want to be seen. Oh, but no, I don't want you to see that, or like just this kind of, there's like a conspiracy, an unspoken conspiracy to not acknowledge these things that starts in our families of origin and the culture. And it's just like, we just don't do that. But it's kind of the water that we're swimming in, and just how liberating it is to be like, oh, finally, like, and I get to clean up like, oh, like I'm seeing something, but I'm also adding to it. And through the, it's like, oh, actually to kind of collectively clean up our seeing and how like self-evidently valuable that is to me, and yet it's like how unwelcome in default culture to actually say what we're seeing. It's like we just don't do that.
I'm having like an interesting experience just listening to you. It's like, oh, I think some people love it when we see them as well. You probably also have experienced that. And then seeing how somebody doesn't want to be seen. Like I'm seeing their pain, but I'm also seeing that there might be a boundary or like that's a little bit what I get in touch with when I listen to you. Like the meta level even of it.
Mhm. That little glitch probably stopped. I didn't want to stop whoever else might be speaking, but total cliffhanger of energy. I see it as like there's something about being bicultural and all right, okay, that's also funny. There are so many metas going on. Hi, welcome to my stream of consciousness. Um, being bicultural and like having had one experience and then having shifted to a very different experience, like having had a worldview and then having another one. And I think this one in particular, because of the nature of it, because it impacts every relationship. It's not just in my politics or in, how is the earth flat or not? Like it impacts every atom that I touch because my world is different. So, and I can shift back and forth to some degree. That is what I'm hearing. It's like the default world. It's like getting behind the fourth wall of like the games we play. That's what I'm hearing. And I'm sure there are many walls, many of those, but I'm just curious about why you're laughing now. I want to get the feedback straight away. So.
It's just it's getting more and more psychedelic, or like
Yeah.
and enjoying it.
Yeah, and I switched accent as well. That's what I started laughing at in the middle of it. Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you got it, but I did eventually. Thanks, David. Yeah. I'm just gonna stop there. That's it. I'm just pulling the handbrake. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm feeling a bit lost in the conversation. But we were talking about bringing circling and relating practices into our daily life, isn't it? So for me, I've only been doing circling for a couple of years, and for me, it's just been so nice to come out of my shoulds and shouldn'ts and how I'm being told I should behave in society, and to start to notice things, more subtle things in the way people are relating to me. Because there's been this funny sort of sense that there's something else going on, but because I've never been told about it, I would always doubt myself. So now I'm going, they're saying this, but it kind of feels like that. And I'm starting to trust myself a little more and ask questions. And yeah, there's some places where you don't tell people you're angry or things like that. I find it generally easy to pick up the places where you don't be so vulnerable and open. But to me, it's been such a great help and just been helping me be more aware, or helping me to be more aware of what I think I was aware of, but just didn't really understand for many years. Yeah. So I don't really have a problem too much with bringing these practices into daily life. In fact, I've been thinking, because it is quite hard setting something up in a country where there's hardly anybody who even knows what circling means, that maybe this is just for me, to help me to relate to other people. Because now I'm starting to see, things that are behind the scenes a little bit or a little deeper, so I can actually bring that into my conversation. And I've separated from a lot of people that don't want to talk about deeper and more meaningful stuff. So many of the people that I'm living with and connect with daily are kind of open to that. So yeah, it's been quite nice to be able to slowly start to bring this into my daily life But you know, I do slip back into what I'm supposed to do and what I should say, and my people-pleasing mode quite often. And this is just, it's just helping me to slowly come out of that and into a more authentic me. And just being with you guys, I kind of feel like I'm the beginner here. I don't quite know what's going on again. Maybe that's it. It's probably a great place to not quite know. Yeah. Anyway, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I was reflecting this within my breakout room around like the part of me that really when I really like something, just kind of hyper focusing on it and going into black and white mode and wanting to turn my whole life into that way of being and talking and yeah, and how quickly I can abandon other like important, let's say, connections if they don't match the script that now I'm learning, like I really want this. And actually, I noticed this not just in myself, other people that are new and like, but really quickly get into circling and like do a lot of it. It's like, oh, I start losing relationships with other people and actually start feeling more disconnected rather than more connected with people overall. Like, how weird. I thought I would be more open and connected. So I'm like trying to figure out what are some of the helpful antidotes for myself within that. And one of them being like, I want to expand my relational practice palette. And yes, circling is amazing, and that's my home in a way. But then I kind of stretch into other fields, like, I don't know, like radical honesty, stemless, or, even just like trying to learn more about just having a conversation and asking good relational questions, discussion, like there's various ways of engaging and becoming more comfortable in those other ways and forms and shapes as well for myself is important. Whilst also not losing the sight of what really energizes and motivates me and how can I create more of that for myself in life. But knowing I don't necessarily have to completely make it all one flavor. Yeah. Thank you.
When I was attending the last circling experience, I did at your place actually, Peter. There was a moment where I had this thought. Actually, I think I had it several times because I liked it so much that I was like, maybe in a few years this will just be normal. That this will just be like we are talking with each other all the time, everywhere. But it kind of has to like start somewhere, right? And I think maybe I actually really believe that actually. I also have not really like I'm still very new to this practice, but like there are some core principles in it that I can see that I've already been practicing in my life for years, also before meeting the practice, and somehow this just sparks that interest and the way that I like to be in life even more. And what I'm trying to say about that is that I have also not yet encountered any problems with in the measurement that I've been able to do so far, like bringing it into other areas and conversations, at least to the degree that I've done it. I mean, I could possibly run into some problems if I did it more than that, but so far I'm still like in experiment mode, like how much, how to just bring more rawness and honesty and actually all kind of situations. Yes, I haven't really had any problems with it yet, but maybe I will say something else in a few years. Who knows? Yeah. I've only had very joyful moments actually with it.
Yeah, I notice hearing some of you, I really don't want to underestimate the amount of love and beauty, and I imagine most of us have been appreciated a lot as well for how we see people and how we are actually attuned and all these things. I don't want to underestimate that, and I think the reason I went towards the challenges is that I don't find many spaces to reflect on that, and I find it really rich right now, hearing all of you. I'm surprised by how rich or enlivening it is.
Yeah, I also just want to say that the theme for the next month's call is how to bring these practices into everyday life. So like how to live it more. So we'll be talking more about that also. An example that came up for me when you were speaking now, Sophia, is like, because I've certainly had many, many, many lovely experiences of bringing this stuff into life. But I remember when I did my certification in my body therapy training, and the feedback I got, because we do a little conversation with the client when they come in the door, and the way I had shown up was that I sat a bit in silence, and like, oh, I think I said like, oh, you seem a bit hectic. What's it like for you right now? And the feedback from my teachers were like, that's a pretty weird thing to ask someone who comes to a session with you. It's like, and it's okay that you do it, but you could also just try to be a bit sort of more normal human with this person. And it is feedback I've gotten a few times from, let's say, professionals in adjacent fields, that is like, does it have to be weird in this way? Like you could just have a sort of say hi to people, or maybe have a name round when you start your thing, instead of immediately going like, let's drop into presence, like what's happening right now, everyone. So yeah, there is some interesting territory there, I think, at least for me. And it's funny the thing you say with like, this, I hope this will get normal in a few years, so that would be nice. Like I have this experience when I lead quite like scarily often these days, that I'm sitting in a workshop room with 20 people and I'm like, are we doing anything? Like, is this like, is this new for anyone? Or like, is something being learned here, or are we just hanging out? So there's some kind of difference that has been, yeah, it's not very big anymore, which is also a little bit freaky sometimes.
I feel there's just one more thing coming alive in me when I just listen to you now, Peter, and that is this thing, like this example that you just brought. There was a part of me that actually just wanted to scream a little bit, because and I think this is also what I shared in the group, that when I was doing circling, I was like, I don't want to do anything else, because the normal way becomes so freakingly boring. It's like, let's do a name round or whatever it was suggestion you did. It's like when you know that there's something else that you could also do, that you could actually just be present and then feel what is there, even though you just met the person for the first time. It's like it's so super exciting, like compared to the, yeah. Anyways, clearly that just wanted to come out of me. That's just what I wanted to say.
I want to give one more example of a place that has been tricky before we end, and I was at this. I don't usually go to men's retreats, but I've been to one, and I was supposed to lead a group there, and I spent a few days with these 5 guys in my group, and I kept sort of bringing myself in presence and sort of checking in with them, how it was for them to be here. And then after 3 days, and a few of them like were quite upset with the whole retreat, not only because of me, but partly, I think. And they decided to leave. And this one guy got really angry with sort of the group and how everyone was showing up. And at that moment, it turned out that these guys were really sort of upset that we hadn't focused more on their stories, because that was what they came for. They just really wanted to talk about their lives, because they weren't used to having anyone they could tell about what was going on in their life. And I had completely missed that by sort of really wanting to stay with presence and what's happening in the here and now. And yeah, so for me, there's also just sometimes it's just really worth honoring the thing that there's a real need for in the moment. And that might not be what I'm the most excited about. And of course, this is in a leadership context. I would want to get the stuff I'm the most excited about in life and with people.
Yeah. Wow. So, Peter, if we have a mountain of reflections and things that we want to say right now, and the time is up as it is there like a place to write the reflections on a homepage, or is there like, do we all have our own forums, or like, how do you do this? What do you do with this? Woof. I imagine more of us feel quite bubbly and have a lot more that is coming up for us.
That's a good question. I don't have a channel that's perfect for that.
You can just all write your personal messages to Peter and he will go through everything.
Oh, that's super welcome. I wonder if I should set up a Telegram group or something for.
I was just thinking the same. I would love a forum, and there can even be different channels below it, or like conversations. So.
Yeah. I'll do that. It might be late for this particular conversation, but I like the idea, and yeah, I like the conversation, and it's been really nice hanging out with you guys.
I also just want to say, like, I hijacked today a little bit with my own theme, and I love that you all joined me in it. The original theme, the building community, will also still come in one of these calls. Peter will send it out in the newsletter and everything. I imagine also someone like Emilia, who has built the peer-to-peer network, for example, in England. But yeah, there are interesting people who can talk about that. And it will come.
Yeah. And as I said, next month it will be focused on how to bring these practices into sort of everyday life, so personal relationships. We breached into that today as well. There will be a few people who have done experiments with that in different ways, talking about their experiences. And yeah, there'll be a call like this every month where we take up a theme, and you're so welcome to take part in whatever way.
Yeah, and also suggest what you want to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Peter, when is the next call in a month?
It is the 23rd of April.
Yes. Cool.
Yeah. And as I just wrote in the chat, I'll set up a Telegram group and I'll send out an invite link to all of you who've been here.
Sweet.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Lovely seeing you.
Yes, thank you.
Nice to see you too, Peter.
Yeah, and good to see you,
Well.
Holly.
Got rid of your jersey.
Yeah.
See ya.
Bye now.